Welcome to the Recovery Lab podcast. We're glad you were able to join us. Recovery Lab hopes to destigmatize addiction and normalize recovery.
Our platform provides an avenue to share the many stories of those that have recovered from addiction, providing for the listener the most basic antidote to addiction.
Hope. All right, everybody, we're back. This is episode number 65 of the Recovery Lab podcast, series 65. That's crazy, isn't it?
Wow, was I like 9?
I'm thinking 8 or 9, 7, 8 or 9. Yeah, time flies.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Well, I'm Drew Hassan.
I'm Daniel Anderson.
We are the Recovery Lab. We are joined again here at the Recovery Lab by Dusti Yarbrough. We're glad to have you.
Welcome back.
So we've been chit-chatting about the technological improvements and advancements since you were here the first time, which I'm genuinely curious what number you were. Let me see if I can toggle over to Google
I think it was
Drive.
3 or 4 before I came.
Oh, I don't have it in there anymore.
I think it was 3 or 4 before I came. I'll look it up when we're done.
So you're back,
I'm back.
and we appreciate your taking the time to come here.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Can I ask a question just for my own knowledge? And so how did you guys know each other?
One of my friends is married to Drew, Kimberly.
Oh, okay.
I think
All right, cool.
you and Kimberly went to treatment together.
Yeah,
one time?
we were at Grace House together for a
Oh,
while.
right on. Awesome. I love it.
We're more Facebook friends than
Yeah.
Yeah,
than-
sure. No problem. So we were talking a little bit about this at the beginning of the hour, and this is coming from one of my podcast clients that I just produced a podcast for this morning. We were talking after the meeting, and he was talking about how this other podcast, The Awakened Collective with Brett Gregory, really shines a lot of light on applying the principles of the program and not just the war stories and the speaker meeting, if you will. And he mentioned that the Awakened Collective, again, Rick Gregory's podcast, that aspect of the podcast was very rewarding to this person. This is Jody Penton.
Look, I can't. He's on to something.
Yeah, I really think so.
The way I've described this before was, like a speaker meeting with questions. And part of the questions I wanted to ask was, how do you, like the person, actually work through the problems in your life? Because I think that's the most transmittable benefit to people.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's something that there's something clicked when Jody said that. I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's, a lot of times I wouldn't say we phone it in by any way, any stretch of the imagination, but I think that sometimes we we don't do as much as we possibly could in order to really get to know our guests on a deeper level. We let them speak for a little while, and then we ask them questions. Yes, and that serves a purpose, and it's valuable. There's not a question about that. But what would happen if we...
Look, I completely agree. This is how really long format podcasts benefit. Like Lex Friedman has a podcast.
Right.
And no kidding, he has an episode that's over 8 hours long.
My God.
And, I sure don't want to be talking to somebody for 8 hours.
No.
I don't know that they filmed it like start to finish, 8 hours, or if it was over a couple days and they just put it all together. But, like Joe Rogan, 2+ hours.
Oh, easy, every day. Yeah.
Is easy for him.
He does multiples.
And I think it'll be better with her since she's been here before.
Yeah. We do have a little bit of if for our fans that listen to that episode, they certainly, they've probably heard that side of you. So I'm curious, to know, how you apply the principles, how you do life. It's not easy to, once we have that best friend, if you will, the drugs and alcohol, it was there for us when times were great. It was there for us when times were hard. It was always there. And then we removed that. And there's a mourning that you mourn the loss of your best friend. Most people do, at least. I know I did. So what do you do after that? How do you apply the principles of the program, whether it be a faith-based program or a 12-step program or smart recovery or whatever your pathway to recovery can be or is. I want to approach these conversations with an attitude of curiosity and how do you do it? Because ultimately, I mean, I don't want to be selfish, but I want to improve my life too. I want to improve my program.
Course. Absolutely.
And I'm always open to suggestions and new ideas. And that's what really, really gets me going about this podcast and why I'm so grateful that Drew allowed me to come on is, I get to learn these, different people's perspectives and different people's ways of doing things. And like I've said in previous podcasts, there's 1,763,462 different paths to recovery. And if that path, I just completely made that up.
That wasn't an actual.
I was like,
that
my
wasn't
gosh.
an actual statistic.
But if a path works for you, then I'm curious about it. I would love to know about that. So that said, let's jump into it.
What's happened? Okay. So you were one of the very first. So that would have been like September or October of last year.
Okay.
What has happened in your life since September or October that is noteworthy? Okay,
well, so around that time, I guess I started working on my credit. I've since then bought a house.
Look at you.
Look at that.
I knew you were going to say that, and I was just giving you an opportunity to say it.
And also, I got custody of my 16-year-old daughter who has lived with my aunt since she was 2.
Wow.
So now all of a sudden I have a 16-year-old. And I've never.
What's that like?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, she is. She's lived with a very strict family, and so she is not like other 16-year-olds.
Was she? So you were doing worse things at 16 than she.
Oh, definitely. She is. I shock her with the things that I say. She's like, my God, like I cuss a lot, and she does not, and. She's shocked by the things that I say.
All right. Well, that would have to be challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
Talk about a whirlwind for her, too.
Yeah, whirlwind for everybody.
Yeah. Complete.
How did you approach, okay, here's an example. So I will flash out at my older 3 kids because I think they're being, their behavior is, they do something I don't like. And then every time I think, gosh, you're not being very patient. You're not being very loving. And then I think they deserve to hear that. And then
just the look in your eyes, the disdain is just like,
these or Thomas,
imbeciles.
Thomas, the baby will do something and I'll bark at him. Like I screamed at him the other night, his name to try to get him to snap out of this whining thing he was doing. And then I thought, if that were recorded and played for people.
Exactly.
So how do you deal with, you don't have a great deal of experience in having a 16-year-old. How have you adjusted to having one?
Well, basically, I just talk to her like she's an adult. I have to stop myself sometimes and remember, no, she's actually a kid at 16. I was pretty much an adult at 16. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to reel it in on that. But what you described would be my relationship with Sebastian.
Okay, for those who don't know, who's Sebastian?
Yeah, that's my 4-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's the one that gets flashed out on. But, Bella's such a good kid. It's really... There's not, when it comes to discipline or I just ask her, hey, can you not do that? Or, that's not going to be okay. And she's like, okay. And that's it.
Whatever magic your aunt and uncle worked on her.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and people,
they did that.
People are like, she is so kind and sweet. And I'm like,
she gets it from
me. It's not my doing at all. At all. It's all that credit goes to my aunt.
Yeah,
for sure.
Riley, my son is 16 and he's the exact same way. I mean, I've made lots of every mistake that you can make. I think I've made probably twice. And for some reason he's still around, which, I probably would have run away or done. I don't know what I would have done, but he's, there's not, he'll get an attitude with Marge, sometimes, but, he doesn't really get an attitude with me. And it's, if I ask him to do something, he does it, and that's the end of it. And I was completely not like that. I honestly don't know where he got that. It's just, he's a good kid, like
Yep.
I was doing lots of stuff when I was
Shenanigans.
16. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's good that, that, everything happens for a reason. I think that, while I'm sure it was difficult for you to not have her, underneath your roof for all those years, I tried to look at the positives in every situation and every, adverse situation, especially, because that's an opportunity for me to learn and grow. So what do you think that, what did you learn? Were you in your daughter's life while she was living with your aunt, or
Barely.
barely? Okay.
Yeah,
All
barely.
right. So what was that like for those that have never experienced something like that, or maybe have experienced it and it's difficult? How do you do that? How do you, is it difficult to, that your child is at this other household, or is there like guilt and shame that's associated with her not being with you? Like, and if so, like, how do you process that? Do you jump into a ton of meetings? Do you work with others? Like, how do you get out of that shame and guilt when that shame spiral starts and you start thinking like, oh my God, I'm a horrible mother, if you think that, or,
Yeah.
I'm a horrible person, or I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. We all have those internal voices that can kind of, rear their ugly head. So how do you've obviously stayed sober through this.
Yeah.
So what did that look like for you? How did you work through those, if you had them, negative self-talk, experiences, and what did you do to get through that?
So whenever I came into the program, I did not have Sebastian. He's only 4 and I've got 7 years. So one of the main goals was to get sober, and if Isabella ever wanted to come live with me, then she could.
Sure.
Because I would never just try to get custody and drag her back without her wanting
it.
Yeah. Because she's been with them her whole life. So, but here's the deal. When I did my 5th step, all of that, my sponsor told me, when we do this, you're giving all of this to God. And that's how I looked at it. So when the feelings of guilt or shame would creep up, I would say I've already given that to God. It still happens though. Like, we will go to the doctor and they'll ask a question about her medical history, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I'll get that little blast of, you're shitty, like that's the fact that you don't know that is really messed up. And I'm like, it's fine. I've given that to God, but it does hit you from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet.
Of course, but yeah, it's I just worked on getting my shit together so that she could, come back.
Right.
That was the focus, and not to dwell in the past.
Right. Because that's
You
counterproductive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah. So I think, I'll believe this till the day I die, but it takes what it takes in order for you to get to a point where you're willing and ready to do something else. And while the wreckage and carnage that we can cause can be impressive, to say the least, it takes what it takes in order for us to get to a point where we can look back on our past, and our past is now profitable to us because we can now use it to help other people. And it sounds like you came to you arrived at a point where you gave it to God, you listened to your sponsor. Most importantly, you listened. You were at a point where you could be okay with the fact that, hey, you know what, my best thinking got me right here, so maybe I'll try to listen to someone else.
Yeah.
And you did that, and slowly but surely you've given that to God. And I'm sure that doing the fifth step is a big thing, and I'm sure that, you know, you giving that to God was a huge chunk of that puzzle. But, you know, it's a daily thing. I think you have to
Yeah.
daily give it to God. And it sounds like you've done a phenomenal job of, you know, giving that to God and saying, hey, you know, I can't change the past. All I can do is what's directly in front of me. And it sounds like you have a faith in God and in a higher power that helps guide you. So, I mean, it sounds like you're doing just a phenomenal job. And I spent, gosh, I don't know how, it was probably 4 months away from my son when he was like 10. I went to outpatient in Dallas and lived with my parents for those 3 or 4 months. And I mean, I felt like just just an asshole, you know. I think I didn't, but I was like a deer in headlights. You know, my attorney, some things went down. My attorney said, hey, you should probably get out of town. And that's what I did. And I kind of didn't look back, and it was awful. It was hard. And, you know, still to this day, I think, like, did I do a lot of harm to Riley? You know, he was in a very, very, he was a sponge and still is, but especially at that time, he was a sponge, and his dad wasn't there. And so I can get
Yeah.
into those shame spirals and shame, you know, thinking that, oh, you're a piece of, and you're worthless and you have no value. And the only thing that I do is I tell myself what I just told you. And I trust that, you know, God brought me through everything that I had to do. God made sure that I didn't, you know, cause more harm than I absolutely had to. But the reality of the situation is I caused a lot of harm, you know, and it took what it took in order for me to get to a point where I was willing to do something different, you know.
How did you begin the process of at least discussing with her if she wanted to move in with you?
Oh,
Good
well,
question.
here's the thing. She got in trouble
Uh-huh.
with my aunt. And she was like, I want to come live with you. And I was like, all right, come on.
I hear you.
I've been waiting on you for 6 years. Come on. And she's like, okay. So it was hard for her, though. You know, we would go visit, and I think like maybe the first time that she saw them again, she cried almost the whole way home. You know,
Really?
yeah, it was hard, but she's settled in now. You know,
And she's back
How long
when-
has she lived with you?
Yeah.
Since March.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 9 months, knocking on 9 months.
Yeah.
Did she have to switch schools in order to come live with you, or
Yes.
what was that
Yeah.
like?
So she came to live with me like a month and a half before I closed on the house. So Pearl School, I was in Pearl at the time. Pearl School wouldn't take her for a month and a half, knowing that I was moving to Richland. So I had to withdraw her into homeschool until we moved to Richland.
God, what was homeschooling like?
There was no homeschool.
Okay.
Yeah, the lady said we were going to put that on the paper, but just have her, do some free homeschooling, which she did, to keep up, with it or whatever. But then we got her into Richland, and some of her credits actually didn't transfer over. So she may have to take summer school in order to graduate next year.
Well,
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
homeschooled for a year. I didn't do much. Not good. This is not good
I
for
was
me.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of out of necessity. But So
Well, how did you
Yeah,
deal
yeah,
with
yeah.
the fear of her coming to live with you?
Oh,
that's a good
wow.
question,
Yeah.
too.
It was overwhelming initially because I was like, my God, this is like a whole other adult basically that I have to feed and
Yeah, because they
clothe
eat all the time.
yeah, they
Yeah.
do. They have a tendency to eat every
every
day.
time. Like, when I'll have my kids for the weekend and they'll eat. And then like 2 hours later, they want to eat again.
The nerve.
And then 2
The
hours
nerve
after
of
that.
those assholes.
I mean, they were like, Dave, what's for lunch? I'm like, damn, I just solved the breakfast problem. Again?
God,
Yeah.
the nerve.
I mean, you got to stay on your A game.
Exactly.
Because it's like, look, hey, how about we go eat whatever? I don't like that. Well, you liked it last weekend.
Yeah. Like we just did this.
Yeah.
And you were fine.
You were fine with
Yeah.
it.
That's Sebastian.
Well, you're going to be hungry, dog.
Yeah. Eat a Lunchable.
You gotta wait till tomorrow, boy.
No more
We
food
eat one
today.
time a day in this
Yeah.
household.
All right, so you're dealing with the fear. Here comes a 16-year-old, because it sounds like it was kind of boom, like here she is.
Yeah. It was like overnight. Bam.
Bam.
Yeah. And like they packed up all her stuff like immediately. And we had to go take a truck down there to Laurel, pick it up. And at that time, I was still in a 2-bedroom trailer in Pearl. And she had a ridiculous amount of stuff. A ridiculous amount. My entire kitchen was filled with her things because there was no sense in her unpacking everything when we're about to move into the house.
Right.
So we just kept it packed in the kitchen for like a month or a month and a half. And so, yeah,
That had to be a lot.
it was a lot.
So what do you do? Like, what are some of the steps that you took to kind of become at peace with that? You step up your meetings, you step up your calling your sponsor. Like what exactly did you do to kind of get through that difficult transition period?
First of all, prayer.
Okay.
First of all, like constant. Yeah, and that was my first move. I called my sponsor and I'm like, what am I going to do? And she's like, well, I mean, this is what you've been praying for 6 years now. So,
We're going to say thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. My curiosity has piqued a little bit, like, because I like comparing like how I pray with other people and how they pray. Like, so like you said, you prayed a lot. So
Yeah.
give us an example, if you don't mind, if you're willing, like, just give us an example of how you talk to God, like what you would say, what a prayer would sound like.
Okay, so I mean, I have my big prayers at night and in the morning.
Okay.
You know, like God help me stay sober tomorrow, or help me stay sober today. You know,
And
whichever.
is it more like a friend like having a conversation with a friend, or like having a conversation with like a leader in church, or like like
Oh,
what did it
it's-
look like? Is it a personal?
Yeah, it's
conversation?
It's a personal conversation.
Okay.
You know, but then throughout the day, when I feel emotions, because I've dealt with a lot of anger in sobriety, it's not as bad as it was in the beginning, but it's still there and it comes up from time to time. And so I'll pray, God, save me from my anger right now, you know, or God, please help me with this fear that I'm experiencing right now. You know, I can't handle this right now. And so, you know, just talking to him throughout the day
Yeah,
with whatever comes up. And that's
I like it.
pretty often. Yeah.
Don't let me whoop anybody today.
Yeah. Please don't let me beat my children.
And please don't
Right.
have them ask me to eat more than one time
Yeah.
per day.
Yeah. Isabella, I told her the other day, I was like, all you do is complain. You complain and ask questions. And then I started saying, like, she would ask a question, I would say, question. And then she would say something else, I would say, complaint. And just to point out to her.
I'm just here to point this out.
Yeah. This is how often you're complaining or asking questions.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, are
can we
they
just have
valid?
a-
Like, are they valid concerns? Or are they trivial in
I
nature?
already know the answer. Absolutely not.
No. And
So
it-
she's not asking about how to end world hunger or anything like that? That's
No.
Pretty topical. stuff, yeah.
No. Can Alana come over next weekend? Yes. Are you going to let Alana come over next weekend? Yes. Yes. I said that 5 questions ago. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like she's curious, though. That's good. You know,
Just got to make sure.
that they only
Yeah.
eat once a
She's
day.
got to verify it
Gotta
2 or
verify
3
it.
times at least.
At least.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going through a lot too. You know,
Yeah.
like this is new to her too. You know, and sounds like she's doing a pretty doggone good job of, you know, acclimating to her surroundings. And you know, y'all got this new house, like that's pretty awesome. And she's, you know, back with her mom, and that's new and different. And I mean, it sounds like, given the circumstances, she's doing a pretty good job. You know,
Yeah.
both of you, I would say.
I don't know. I mean, this year has been like a really big struggle.
How so?
So got the house, and then my job kind of changes the way that management does things, because I'd been with them for 4 years, and the amount of money that I'd made in previous years got cut in half. pretty
Damn.
much. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and so it was almost like I got demoted, and I, you know, started talking to them like months beforehand, and was like, hey, you know,
This
I
ain't
can't-
working.
Yeah. Like, if you're gonna demote me, I'm gonna have to go somewhere else. I'll start fresh somewhere else. I'm not gonna be at a job that I've been at for years now and just get kind of taken down a notch. And so I finally did that, and I made the move to Kate a few months ago, like 2.5, 3 months ago now. But for the time that I was still at Char, it was like terrible. Like, I've taken out loans and maxed out all the credit cards. You know, I've just now called up. But during that time, it was really difficult. And there were days that I would think I could just go have a drink and start over my time and get rid of this.
Just take the edge off a little bit.
Yeah, just for a second.
Yeah.
Just for a second, you know. And I mean, of course, you know, you immediately follow that thought with,
We've been there
Yeah.
before. We know exactly.
We've tested
you
this
don't-
hypothesis.
we know what's
you
going
don't
down.
stop
We're
with one. You do not stop
Yeah.
with one. You're gonna wreck your car, get a DUI, lose your kids.
have a
like,
pocket full of
yeah.
meth if you're me.
Exactly.
Some social IV drug
Exactly.
use.
Yeah,
Fine.
social IV drug. Yes, that's exactly.
But you'll feel better for a couple hours.
You will.
Yes. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, play the
but,
tape through.
Yeah, it's been a struggle though.
Well, have you enjoyed the pivot to Kate,
Yes.
What is Kate?
Yeah.
the restaurant?
It's a different fine dining restaurant in Ridgeland.
In Ridgeland?
Yeah.
It's the same people that own Walker's
Yeah.
and Local 463.
Where's it at?
It's in Renaissance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Seafood.
Awesome.
Oh, it's just seafood.
No, I mean they got steaks and stuff too, but
Okay.
it's called like Oysterette, Kate Oysterette. You know, or oysters are like the big deal.
Bougie oysters. Look, so when I was working when I lived in Hattiesburg, when I was first getting sober, I worked at a pizza joint.
Yeah.
And the guy who owned the pizza joint also owned a fine dining restaurant that was up the street. And so he comes to me and he says, hey, look, I need you to help out in the kitchen up the street, the fine dining restaurant. And I was like, I'm down with it, whatever. I'm a good cook. I can do it. And we get there, and he's like, get that glove. I might need you to shuck some oysters. And I was like, absolutely not. Under no circumstances. I mean, because literally
That's such a hard, man.
you wear a chainmail glove
Yeah, I know.
and are jabbing a blunt knife in this oyster. As hard. I mean, it is a trip to the ER waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I got my rent money, boss. I don't need to do this
Yeah.
that badly.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to get out of doing that. But yeah, shucking oysters ain't for Drew.
No, that is It's not easy.
I don't have any health insurance, buddy.
Yeah, for real.
Dude, Marge loves like once a year we'll get a bushel of oysters. And
Well, I like to eat them.
she thinks it's just so fun to like shuck them and stuff because she grew up in Florida.
Wait till she
like,
rips her hand open.
Yeah.
it's something. I hate doing those. We got some last year? We had some shipped to my parents' house in Texas, and I mean it's just miserable. The work necessary in order to get to those little slimy boogers.
The reward is not great.
It was bad.
All right, so you bought a house, started a new job, had a 16-year-old move in with you.
Yeah.
You must, at the end of the day, and if you don't, you should, sit back and think, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that ain't bad.
Absolutely. That's a lot. That's a lot. And you built your credit
Yeah.
back up to where you can buy a house.
It's crashed since then. Yeah, it's the credit card.
It's a moving target.
Yeah. Hey, believe me when I say this, you're not alone. You know,
Okay.
you are not alone.
No, you have fellow travelers.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, life gets lifey. You got to do what you got to do.
I mean, but to have a happy, well-adjusted 4-year-old,
Yeah.
a happy, well-adjusted 16-year-old who chose to move in with you,
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to feel some sense of pride.
Oh, for sure. It's like I've achieved. I can't wait to see what God has in store because I've already achieved the main goals that I had.
This is where
So it's
people
like-
say, you know, if I had to write a list of the things I wanted, I would have cut myself short. You
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So are you happy now? Are you like
Yeah.
are you are you peaceful?
Yeah.
Would be
Good
the appropriate
question.
question.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are times that, I get stressed out and then I have to be reminded, hey, this is a step 3 issue.
Right.
You got to give it back to God.
Right.
And just the more that God shows up, the easier it gets,
Right.
I mean, and he always shows up.
You build that trust and faith in him.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, but I have to be reminded, my initial response, and I hope that it changes throughout the years in recovery, is to freak out. My initial response is, my God, what am I going to do?
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We've gone through this before.
Right.
I don't have to
And
do
we didn't-
anything.
Right. We didn't drink and use.
Yeah.
We sat exactly where our feet were and
Yeah.
everything worked out.
Yeah. Every time.
So let's do that again now.
Yeah.
I get it.
So what are the practices that you have in your recovery life that have ended up being of a benefit to you? Going to meetings, having a sponsor. We talked about prayer.
Being a sponsor is
Working with
is
others.
a big one. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little
And
bit about that.
they told me in the beginning that's a surefire way to stay clean, and so that's
Nothing
do.
so much
Yeah.
ensures, what is it? Nothing so much ensures sobriety as work with another alcoholic.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
So they'll come to you and they're like, gosh, I've got this problem, that problem, this problem, that problem. And you're like, damn, I don't want none of that.
yeah,
You keep that.
yeah, for sure.
Is that, do you glean gratitude out of that? Or is it just a focusing on
Someone else other than yourself.
the altruistic component of help, not only considering your own problems.
Yeah, it takes you out of yourself for sure, and makes you realize you need to be more grateful most of the time. And also, I find it rewarding when a sponsee comes to me about something that I've gone through in recovery, and I'm like, wow, there's
Right.
the reason for
Right,
that.
right. Those experiences
Now I
become
can tell
profitable.
this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Our past becoming profitable to us because we can now use them
Yes.
to help others.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about in my eyes. Everything boils out.
How
of
many
that.
people do you sponsor?
Okay, right now I have one sponsee,
Okay.
but I will do 2. Well, let's see. I would do up to, they say like 1 per year, huh? I don't know. I would do up to 4, but they can't all be going through the steps at the same time. You know, I'll do 2 going through the steps at one time if these 2 have already made it
You have
through.
2 freshmen and 2 seniors.
Yeah, exactly. I can't take 4 people through the steps at one time, because during that time there's a lot of you know, communication and, you know, it
Learning
would be
and
like,
growth on there, you know,
Yeah.
on both sides.
and then you always end up with one sponsee that calls for like 1 hour a day every day. Yeah. And so, I mean, and I just tell my sponsees, call me when you need to talk, or sometimes just depending on the person, we need to talk twice a week, or we need to talk once a week, or, you know, just depending on the situation or whatever. But, you know, you've always got that one that talks for an hour every day,
yeah,
which
but
is fine.
it helps you keep you
Yeah.
know, helps you.
Which is fine, but it's a lot.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
That Bluetooth earbud
That's where
getting
those
tapped
things-
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were fixing to say
No,
something.
no. Go ahead.
Well, what now that you've seen some pretty significant goals
Yeah.
come through and, you know, reach fruition, what do you have looking forward? Like, this is one of the main things I wanted the podcast to be
Yeah.
for. Was like people come on and they say, "Look, I'm gonna work on this, 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 and this," and then we check back with them a year or 2 later, and they look, I pulled that off, and I did that, and
Yeah.
I own that shit. I did that.
Okay, so I'm in a 2-year program for criminal justice at Hines. I would like to work for drug court. That's my goal. And my studies have fallen in the last 9 months ever since Isabella and getting the house and, you know, changing jobs. It's so hopefully I'll be able to pick that up and finish this 2-year program in the next 4 years. I mean, you know,
Good for you. Going
Yeah.
back to school is a big thing.
because I'm only doing part-time. I can't, there's no way I could go.
Well, I appreciate you're having a realistic view of what your limitations are, given that you have
So much on
Job.
your plate, yeah.
a home, 2 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. So I think sometimes we get so amped up and geared up in doing that we take on too much, and then we basically buy all of the ingredients for a recipe for disaster. And then we just fuel this cycle of I'm no good, I can't do it, blah, blah, blah. When really we just took too big of a bite out of the sandwich, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just need to take a step back for a
Exactly.
second. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also have the goal of owning a minivan. I've wanted a
didn't
minivan.
Care to elaborate?
Yeah, I've wanted a minivan since I was a small girl.
A minivan?
Yeah. So that's my next.
I mean, there's nothing
Amazing.
more like for road trips and stuff like that. Like, there's nothing better. You just open that door, they hop
Look,
right
I've
in.
always thought that if I
Especially
were
if
going
you
to
have
be
to,
like an interstate drug smuggler, it would be in a minivan,
minivan.
with
Yeah.
car seats in it.
Yeah.
Because you basically become the wallpaper.
Yeah.
I mean, who notices a Honda
Odyssey.
Odyssey
Yeah.
or a Toy? Well, that was a really creepy Toyota Sienna. Nobody's ever said that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dodge Grand Caravan. I think it's
Yeah.
those things are insane.
look, minivans really are.
They're great.
I tried to convince Kimberly to get one, and she was like, "Absolutely not."
I know,
You know,
everybody's
punch,
like,
the doors open.
Yes, dude.
The Hondas have storage compartments under the
Yeah.
floor.
oh my God.
Yeah, you
They're-
don't have to
it's
break your
something.
back putting a kid in a child seat.
Uh-uh.
They're incredible.
I want a minivan.
No, you don't want a minivan.
Yeah.
If you get a minivan, we're gonna put fire racing stripes down the side of it.
Like
Oh
the
my
A-Team.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Don't do it.
I don't think I expect you to say one of your goals was a minivan. But
I
good.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, that cut me off.
That's a big deal. It's a big deal.
You need to get some kind of horn that honks like this in it.
Sebastian would love that.
Wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. All my friends are like, "Are you kidding me? A minivan?" I'm like, "I'm doing it."
I mean, you think they sell like crazy. Minivans sell like crazy.
Yeah.
People love them. People love them. They do.
I need a minivan. I mean, I've got 1,000 children.
You do have 1,000 children, all of which
If we
want to
go
eat
somewhere,
more than once.
look, it's a goal of mine to have a vehicle large enough to carry my entire family in it.
You may need a passenger van.
Dude, I had a customer that they have eight children. 8 children.
Get off her, bro.
8 children. 8 children, man.
8.
Yes.
Do they have a passenger van?
They have like one of those like
Yeah.
the
People
big
movers,
passport,
yeah.
like the
Yeah.
yeah. Like and they're the
15-seater.
yeah, they've had I think 5 and then they adopted 3, I think.
Okay.
And then one of my podcast clients,
How do you afford
5.
the food for 8 kids?
I think
Welfare, surely.
maybe.
I mean,
you got the husband has a really fine job,
He must.
He has
He
a
has
really
to.
fine job. Yeah.
God.
Same with one of my other clients. They have a few businesses and they have 5 kids, and then they have a adopted girl from Ukraine, and they have a beautiful house, and you have a job that supports that, because that's a lot of money, man.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Way more than you think.
Yeah, like I would just get a block of cheese and cut it into 9 pieces and just hand it to him and just call it a day, dude. I think I would be an awful.
You'll eat at school.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, God said, I'm not designed to have any more than 1 child. I think I'm good with 1. I don't know how you guys do it, even with 2.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's a lot, man. I mean, just
Can you imagine taking 8 kids to the state fair?
no.
That'd be $1,000. I'm not lying.
Yes,
it'd
it
be
would.
$1,000.
It's like $150 for bash, just bash,
Yeah, it's crazy.
to do all the things.
The food.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be making
That's
$750,000 a year.
that's
It's just
that's Coke
Exactly.
selling money.
yeah, it is Coke
Yeah.
selling money.
That guy's a drug dealer.
Yeah, I bet he's got a minivan.
He does have a minivan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Compartments.
My weed dealer drove a minivan around and had serviced he loved it. Like he looked like
Fade
a
into the background.
Not a single time did he get pulled over.
Keep your hair cut.
yeah.
Only transport the drugs during 5 o'clock traffic. He's
Right.
getting pulled over at 5 o'clock.
Nobody.
Wear sweaters like Drew.
Wear sweaters.
Yeah. Perfect.
I'm serious. Who's pulling you over in a Honda Accord with car seats in it?
That's a good point.
With a good haircut.
With a
And a sweater.
and
yeah.
a sweater.
Yeah.
That's a fine sweater. Drew.
And no tinted windows.
No, you can't have tinted windows.
No.
No, he
On a van? Definitely not.
well,
Well, you could have the back tinted, but just not the front.
yeah, you can have those back.
Maybe a little.
Yeah. So how do you find time for recovery? Like, how do you
Ooh, that's a good question.
like, how do you
squeeze it in there?
Right. So do you hire a babysitter? Do you have the
Well,
16-year-old take care of the
yeah.
4-year-old?
Yeah, she watches him on Monday nights, and I go to meetings. And then every now and then I get to take off work because I work Tuesday through Saturday nights.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll take off work for, different speaker meetings or something like that and get an extra meeting in. But right now it's Monday nights for meetings. And
Sundays for
That's it.
podcasts.
Sundays
Yeah.
for podcast.
Well, I tell you, have you ever done Zoom meetings?
I did not.
You didn't?
Not even in COVID. No.
Really?
I'm so intimidated by Zoom meetings.
Really? You should give it a shot. I go to one every morning at 7:30 a.m.
Really?
Every
But
morning.
they're really pretty good.
Yeah, every morning.
Like I
It's in
sit
Dallas.
at my desk a few mornings every week and log on, and I have it playing. And
Yeah, and you can turn your camera off, and you can just put just listening down at the bottom, so nobody's going to call on you. You can turn your camera off, and it's just like you get a meeting in. You check the box. You know,
Okay.
I need a lot of meetings in my life, and I can't make it to a lot of in-person meetings. So that's 7:30 a.m. every morning.
Okay.
they're not as good as in person, but
Well,
it's good.
Yeah.
it's it's better than not getting to a meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll shoot you the link to mine.
Okay, sure.
You should jump on. There's usually 40 to 50 people on every morning.
My God,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's in Dallas. The meeting I first got sober at, the Preston group.
So
Okay.
walk us through a day in the life.
Okay, day in the life. Hopefully 6:30 up, unless I snooze. You know,
Are you a snoozer?
I'm a snoozer.
How many?
Sometimes.
How many snoozes?
2 snoozes.
2 snoozes. Never more, never less.
Sometimes less.
Sometimes
not,
less.
Usually not more.
Never more
No,
than 2,
There's
though.
no way to go.
Okay.
Yeah,
And are you set the snoozes to 8 minutes or 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Ooh,
10-minute snoozes. Yeah.
you are a savage.
And I get up, I go get my coffee. I have about 15 to 20 minutes for meditation at my kitchen table.
What does that look like? Just being peaceful, just recentering? What does that look like?
Yeah, I usually think about my day, you know, what I've got to do. That's when I pray, you know. And, you know, sometimes mornings you wake up at the last minute and there's not time for that.
Sure.
And that's not a good day. I have to, you know, at some point make up for that
Yeah.
later in the day. But usually it's it's every morning around 7ish,
Okay.
6:30 to 7. And just think about the day, talk to God, you know, help my attitude. You know, I can get a bad attitude. Stuff like that. You know, get Sebastian to school.
Car rider, bus rider?
He's in daycare, so
Okay,
yeah,
that's
I just
right,
take
that's
him.
right.
We call it school.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Up until just like a week and a half ago, Isabella was a car rider at her school, but I've just made her ride the bus because it's like one less thing on my plate,
Right.
you know, that I have to worry about. So she's on the bus now. Here recently I've been door dashing.
Okay.
So I'll go DoorDash for a while, pick Sebastian up, then Bella gets off the bus, and then I head to work. Except for Mondays. Sundays and Mondays I'm off. So
Okay. So do you DoorDash on Sundays and Mondays, or you take that time for yourself?
sometimes,
Yeah.
because Sunday is actually a good day for that. So sometimes I do, but a lot of times Sundays are, you know, just day off. Like
Sure.
tomorrow, Monday, I have a house to clean. I clean houses sometimes too. So I'll be doing that after I drop back. Oh no, Bash doesn't have school tomorrow. His lady's having a surgery, but so he'll have to go with me. But
All right. So what happens after that morning? So you take the young one to daycare, then what do you do after that? Do you take time for yourself, or do you just like do door dashing and then kind of just kick it, or like what does it look like?
like door dashing, pick Sebastian up, come home, take a shower, get ready for work, go to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time do you get home?
Sometimes I DoorDash after work and I'll get home. Like last night, it was like 1 a.m. But if I'm not DoorDashing, which, you know, I'm doing it mainly for holiday season.
Sure.
I'll get home around 11, 10:30, 11. We close at 9. So, and then there's side work that takes
Too
an
long.
hour. Yeah, way too long. So, yeah. And that's it.
There's something satisfying and good about a schedule, though.
Yeah.
Routine is a friend of those in recovery.
Yeah, I think it's super important for the kids too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
without a doubt. They need to have things they rely on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Structure is incredibly important.
Structure is important.
Very
Yeah.
And I found it to be important in my recovery life because when inevitably something disrupts it, you've got something you can count on.
Absolutely.
And when there's turmoil, okay, I can do the things that I've been doing, and this formula will yield success.
Right. You can fall back into that routine, but fall back into what's worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, do you want to do your questions? I'm gonna head over to my station.
Yeah, we're there. What do you do poorly in your recovery?
Poorly. I guess maybe not making enough meetings.
Okay.
Or, yeah. Because, well, my sponsor says meetings are not necessarily always for you. They're for the newcomer.
Good point.
And so, it would be great if I could get at least one more meeting in a week, and I'm not doing that right now.
Well, maybe once the holidays are up and you're not door dashing as much, you'll have it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. What do you do well in your recovery?
I don't know. God does everything. I don't think I do. I think if it were all on me, I wouldn't do that well.
Well, you rely on the higher power.
Yeah, like he takes care of everything.
That's what you do well.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You trust your higher power to lead you and keep you out of trouble and make sure everything's going well.
I kind of like that answer though. God does it for me.
Yeah.
I just kind of suit up and show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do the next right thing.
I do the things and it.
I mean, I know that's important. That's a good attitude to have, but we shouldn't take away from. Well, I didn't screw anything up. I could have gone out there and done some of that social IV drug use.
Yeah.
And I chose not to.
Right.
Well, look, thank you for coming back.
Yes,
You're
thank
welcome.
Really, we appreciate it. Maybe we'll not wait a little over a year to have you back, and you can report to us on how things are going with school and how close you are to taking over all of drug court.
Oh,
There it
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
The drug court boss.
I love
Boss.
it. I love it. Thank you so much for
Right.
coming. It was great to meet you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
We're off for Christmas.
Yeah. And then we'll see you the following week, I think.
I believe so. Tune in.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you
We're
so
out.
much.